When Tropical Storm Debby hit Savannah, it left people devastated. Whether you had flood insurance or not, it was a harsh reminder of what can happen when water rises. In today's video, we're going to discuss what to do next, whether you had flood insurance or you didn't. What you need to know as a property owner, whether you were a business that was underwater from one of the rivers in Savannah flooding, or you were a homeowner who lost everything. In this video, we're going to walk you through what to do next. So let's get started. Remember though, before we do, share, subscribe, and like the channel so others can find the same guide we're going to walk you through here today. So what do you do if you had insurance? Well, let's talk about that. So if you had insurance, look, that's great news. That's why it was there. So the first step, even before you contact your insurance agent, is make sure you're documenting this damage. Typically what we recommend is taking photos, taking videos of all this damage, because look, the water is going to recede, and when it does, you want to have proof of this damage. You know, don't be throwing things out until you've contacted your insurance agent, you've had a conversation, because sometimes the adjuster will want to see proof of things that were damaged when they get out there. So you do want to hold off on that, but definitely make sure to take photos and video footage, document any way you can, put it in a folder so you have all this organized for the adjuster. Now when reaching out to the insurance agent, now this part is important. You don't want to just reach out to the insurance agent and then file a claim. Because unlike homeowners insurance claims in Savannah, Georgia, or Statesboro, Georgia, a flood insurance claim stays on a property forever. So this is a big decision. So maybe you only had a few $1,000s worth of damage like one of our other clients did. Maybe it didn't meet your deductible, it was right at your deductible. That's the kind of conversation you want to have with your agent, because filing this claim could potentially impact your insurance premiums long term, whether it's with the National Flood Insurance Program, this has been your second claim, your third claim, or with a private company. You know, is a $5,000 claim really going to cost me $10,000 in premiums? That's the kind of conversation you want to be having with your agent when you reach out to your agent. And when you reach out to your agent, they should be walking you through this process, helping you with this claim, you know, making sure the adjuster is getting out there in a timely fashion. Look, flood insurance claims are no fun to go through. They're one of the most difficult claims to go through because they're not handled overnight, because typically it has to do with a widespread disaster. It can take much longer. You know, we've seen claims with the National Flood Insurance Program after a disaster take sometimes up to 2 years to get settled. So this could be a very long process. You're going to have to meet people and get estimates, be talking to contractors and all these things. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing here. So this is exactly what you should be doing when you're reaching out to your insurance agent. Maybe you don't have an insurance agent. Maybe you bought insurance online. Well, the good news is you can get an agent assigned to you by doing an agent of record change with your policy locally if you want. That can kind of help you through this process and help you service your policy. In fact, it's something we can help you with as well. If you want to click in the description of this video, reach out to us. You know, we guide people through these claim situations every day who don't have agents. Because look, at the end of the day, insurance is only as good as what you've actually got. You need someone to help walk you through this, someone who is used to going down this road. So this is exactly what to do when you reach out to your insurance agent. So you've reached out to your insurance agent and you've had that conversation of short-term and long-term impacts. Now you're trying to decide if you're going to file that flood insurance claim. Well, the good news is you should have a little bit of a time. Look, the National Flood Insurance Program and private flood insurance companies understand this is a big decision to make. They also understand that, hey, you may be moved out of your house completely. It may have been completely taken out with water, like what happened in Tropical Storm Debby in areas like Savannah, Richmond Hill, Pooler, Statesboro, Georgia. Look, I know. I was born in that area and grew up going to Debby. I've seen flooding on Wilshire Boulevard in Abercorn. I know the devastation that flooding can cause in Savannah. That's why I'm helping you with this video right here. And this is personal for me. But also understanding this, typically you have up to 60 days to get this claim in. But it's very important that you get it in before then. Well, we've seen people who wait till 61 days to file a claim and it's not covered. So depending on if it's a private company or it's the National Flood Insurance Program, you want to look at your policy jacket. This is the actual full policy. It's like 60 pages. And you want to go in there and discover, when it comes to claims, what their proof of loss period is. This is very important. You do not want to miss this. You want to work with your insurance agent to make sure that they also know hey, here you have this time frame as you're collecting all this information from contractors, determining the amount of damage, determining when this proof of loss should be submitted. Typically, we recommend actually doing it closer to 30 to 45 days just to be on the safe side. That gives you enough time to get those estimates to determine whether you want to file this claim or not. So this is exactly what you need to know when it comes to that proof of loss period. Working with adjusters and contractors when it comes to this flood damage, it could be a long road, but one of the first things you want to make sure, especially when contractors, you want to make sure they're bonded and insured. You know, unfortunately, when it comes to this type of storm damage, you may have outside contractors come in, really try to take advantage of people. And we see this happen every day. Sometimes they call them storm chasers. You want to ask for testimonials. You want to ask for reviews. You want to ask for copies of their insurance that you can actually see they're bonded and insured. And we're working with the adjusters. You may want to ask the adjusters for their recommendations. Ask your insurance agent for local recommendations when it comes to contractors as well. Remember, if you get your claim to the adjuster and he gets you the amount back and you don't like it, with the National Flood Insurance Program, you do have a 60-day appeal process. Now, with many private flood insurance companies, you may not have that appeal process. That's what it's called surplus or not admitted because of how they're set up. So you want to remember that, whether you're dealing with the National Flood Insurance Program here or private companies. What do you do if you didn't have flood insurance during Tropical Storm Debby in areas like Savannah, Georgia, Pooler, Georgia, Richmond Hill, even down to Statesboro where you had flooding from Cypress Lake? You know, you were told probably by your mortgage company, hey, you're not in a flood zone, you don't need flood insurance, or your mortgage company's not requiring it, so you didn't take it out. We see this happen every day, unfortunately, because of the flood risks. Understanding your flood risk in this area is important moving forward. Remember, having your flood risk score from 0 to 100, which is the chances of a property flooding, are what you need to know. Unfortunately, for you, it may be too late right now. Had you known that, it would have helped you. But going forward, know that score, not necessarily your flood zone. Flood zones have to do more with regulatory requirements. So in knowing that though, say you didn't have flood insurance and you're applying for disaster assistance, but report all of your damage locally to Chatham County, Bullitt County, Bryan County, wherever the damage occurred, whether it was Savannah, Statesboro, Georgia, Richmond Hill, Pooler, all these areas. It's important that you report it because that could be the determination of whether your local community gets disaster assistance aid or not for building coverage. Now, let's say you do get disaster assistance for your building coverage. You do get some money there. I mean, that's great news. You've got to have a presidential disaster declaration filed, which there was one. That's still a process, though. A certain amount of damage has to be met locally for this to happen. Well, if you decide to take the coverage, it's important to remember that because you're taking federal assistance, you may be required to purchase flood insurance moving forward. So you want to get a flood quote as well. Remember, in this situation, private flood insurance is probably not going to be an option for you because of the flood damage. You're probably going to have to go through the National Flood Insurance Program. So let's say that premium is $5,000 a year, but you're only getting $3,000 in disaster assistance. That's something you want to take a look at long term, because more than likely you'll be required to carry flood insurance as long as you own the property if you decide to take out disaster assistance. So remember that. You want to really wager there. Look, I had this happen with my wife's grandmother. She got to $10,000 in disaster assistance from the federal government from a flood a few years ago. The problem is flood insurance was going to be $15,000. So of course it didn't really make sense, so she returned the money back to the federal government. So you really want to look at this long term, short term. Also, when you go to sell your property, what kind of impact could potentially taking disaster assistance be? It really just depends on the amount you're getting and what it's there for. So this is what to do and understand if you didn't have flood insurance. Look, if you're ready to go ahead and get that flood insurance in place, click in the description of this video and we can help you do that in 3 simple steps. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're protected one way or the other. Today we talked about whether you had insurance or you didn't, what to do through this process in Savannah, Georgia and Statesboro, Georgia. Like at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have that coverage in place because you don't want to go through the experience you've probably had to go for this. I mean, this water came out of nowhere. It rose very quickly. You know, some people say it rose within a couple of feet within a few hours and it had no coverage. So having coverage at the end of the day is definitely the most important thing to help protect you emotionally, financially. Look, most businesses don't open back up after a flood because they didn't have the right coverage in place. And many homeowners who didn't have flood insurance usually force bankruptcy or foreclosure, and we don't want that to happen. So as we mentioned, If you're ready to take the next steps of getting flood insurance, you can click in the description of this video. You can also click on the left-hand corner of this video to learn more about the National Flood Insurance Program and private flood insurance. Maybe thankfully you didn't have any damage from Tropical Storm Debby, but you want to make sure you have that coverage in place. Take a look at that playlist and those options. I'm Chris, the Flood Insurance Guru, and I look forward to speaking to you in our next video. Remember, everybody's in a flood zone. Thank you. In a non-coastal area.